Hey guys, it's Alicia Rain and welcome back to my channel, Rainy Reads. This is going to be my first video of 2026, my 2025 wrap up, also talking about my 2026 reading goals. I don't really like filming wrap up videos. The only reason I did a mid-year wrap up back in 2025 covering everything that I read from January to June is because I didn't start posting anything again until May. So there was basically 4 or 5 months where you guys had no idea what I was reading. So I did that to catch you up to speed. And then I filmed a decent amount of videos and reading vlogs in the last half of the year. So I don't know, for maybe like 80% of the books that I would have to talk about, which I think there's like 21 books I read in the last half of 2025, you will have already known my thoughts if you've seen my other videos. So I have a playlist in my description with all of my videos on this channel if you want to go sift through those and see what books I was reading. But I am going to do a quick wrap up by quarter of what books I read, including the ratings and just like an overall statistic overview for 2025. I have graphics that I made for my Instagram stories. If you're following me over on my Booksta, then you've already seen this. I'm just gonna pop those up on the screen as I talk about it really quick, and then we can get into my 2026 goals. I don't know how I'm gonna film this. I don't know if I'm just gonna have it cover the screen or have it next to me, but if you're seeing me look down a lot, it's because I wrote all this down so I wouldn't forget anything. So for the first quarter of 2025, I read 6 books, which was 2,364 pages, and I had an average star rating during that period of 3.58 stars. The books that I read were Misery by Stephen King, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake, A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, Dating and Dragons by Christy Boyce, and My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Ottessa Mossfeet. In the second quarter of 2025, I read 11 books, which was 4,415 pages, and that period of time I had an average star rating of 3.86. The books I read were Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas, The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas, Solitaire by Alice Oseman, Between You and These Bones by F.D. Soul, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas, A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas, A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas, Funny Story by Emily Henry, and The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. In the third quarter of 2025, I read 13 books, which was 3,932 pages, and during that period, I had an average star rating of 3.88. The books I read were The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, One Piece Volumes 1, 2, and 3 by Eiichiro Oda, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins, Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins, Violet Bent Backwards Over the Grass by Lana Del Rey, Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid, Pumpkin Spice and Poltergeist by Allie K. Mulford and K.L. Morrison, All Our Hidden Gifts by Caroline O'Donoghue, and The Mist by Stephen King. In the fourth quarter of 2025, I read 8 books, which was 3,454 pages, and I had an average star rating during that period of 3 stars. The books I read were The Diviners by Libba Bray, Insomnia by Stephen King, Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson, Caraval by Stephanie Garber, Legendary by Stephanie Garber, Finale by Stephanie Garber, Spectacular by Stephanie Garber, and The Waters of Nemazine by Gwendolyn Reese. So in total, I read 38 books this year, which ended up being 14,165 pages, and I ended up having an average star rating of 3.64. My reading goal in 2025 was to read 22 new books, so not including rereads. I just wanted to make sure that I read 22 new books. So out of the 38 books that I read, only 5 of those were rereads, so I actually ended up reading 33 new books. But out of those 33 books, I only had 1 new 5-star read, which is like kind of surprising, even though I would say I'm a pretty harsh rater. And when I say that, I don't like bash books. I just find it very difficult to give books that 5-star rating. I do have a decent amount of 4.5 stars, I would say. I feel like I probably have more 4.5 stars than 5 stars, like in total of like every book that I've ever read and have ever put a rating to. But yeah, to have just 1 new 5-star is still like a little mind-boggling to me. So I'm hoping I can find more than just 1 new 5-star read in 2026. And then some other little statistics that I track are books that I have read from my physical TBR versus books that I have read either through my library or the Libby app, which is also like through my library. And I don't really get books physically from the library ever. I usually just use the Libby app to get audiobooks or ebooks to then send to my Kindle. So out of the 38 books that I read, 32 of those were on my physical TBR, and 6 of those were read on my Kindle. And I also track how much money I saved by using the Libby app or my library, and I ended up saving around $150. And I will be continuing that whole like tracking process next year. I feel like this year is going to be a year where I use my library a lot more. I hauled a lot of books in 2025, but the amount that I actually bought myself wasn't that much. So I would say that I did a good job, but I still don't want to accumulate as many books as I did this year. So this year I hauled 53 books, and 17 of those I actually bought myself. The other 36, I think my math is right. Yeah, the other 36 were either gifted to me, like the actual book was gifted to me by somebody, or I got gift cards, or if I had rewards because I have a Barnes & Noble membership, if I used my rewards to cover a book, I didn't really count it as me buying it. So 17 for me buying it, and then 36 for just like receiving, I guess you could say, is not bad at all. I think 17 books is like the least amount I've ever bought in the last few years because I have a book buying problem. It's so bad. I really need to get through some of these books behind me before I buy more. Like I just have to. I have to at this point. And then since we're on the topic of hauling, I unhauled 32 books. And honestly, that might not sound like a lot, but for me it is, because I didn't start unhauling books until last year. So I would say that that was really good for me to clear out my bookshelves a little bit. And then the last thing that I tracked throughout the entire year was how many days that I actually read. Whether it was 5 pages of something or 50 pages, if I read one of my books, I tracked it, and I read 230 days out of 365. Now let's talk about my 2026 reading goals. So I'm not changing it much from last year. This year, instead of 22 new books, I'm going to be setting my goal at 24, and that would be about 2 a month if I only ever read 2 books every month. And again, that's not including rereads. I already have a series that I would like to reread. I have a few series that I want to finish this year, and I feel like I will have to read the first book or however many books I did read to continue, because I have consumed so much literature in the last 3 to 4 years. If it's been a few years since I've read the first in a series or even 3 books in a series before, I'm gonna need a refresher. So I'm still gonna include those in my overall reading goal, like when I track stuff on my apps, but know that my main goal is to read new books. And then again, like I mentioned earlier, I want to use Libby and the library more. I really enjoy my Kindle. I just don't actually buy books on there because I kind of just got it for the purpose of using my library more to save money, and I didn't really do that much last year, so I definitely want to take advantage of the library. I would also like to read for at least 200 days next year. That's like about a month lower of reading than last year, but just to be realistic, I work full time. I have other hobbies that I want to try and dedicate time to outside of reading this year, because honestly, not even just last year, the last few years really, ever since I started making bookish content online, reading has kind of just taken over my life. And it's not that I'm complaining at all. I absolutely love reading, or I wouldn't be making bookish content or reading at all. I just miss like drawing, painting. I started a crochet blanket 1.5 years ago, and I just finished it like last week. Like, it should not have taken me that long to finish a blanket. So that's something I want to do more. Not really bookish related, but I want to prioritize other hobbies. So reading at least 200 days, I think that's still a good goal. And then I would also like to get through 30% of my physical TBR, which if I do that, that will definitely put me over the 24 book goal. So that one might be a little ambitious, but I'm going to strive for it. I know it's a little out there, but as long as I'm like trying to reach for it, I will be proud of myself. And then I didn't read any NetGalley books last year. If you don't know what NetGalley is, it's a site where you can request to get ARCs from publishers before a book actually gets published, and they give you that book in exchange for an honest review so people can get feedback on their books. And I did that in 2024, and I think I did a few in 2023, and I remember really enjoying it. I thought it was really fun, and I think it's a cool opportunity. I would like to read a couple NetGalley books if I can get approved for them. And then I want to unhaul more books. I just need to start being a little ruthless. I own a lot of books, and if I really don't think I'm gonna get to it, I need to get it off my bookshelf. If I did read it and I really didn't enjoy it and I'm just keeping it because it has a pretty cover, I gotta get rid of it. Now, there's a few on this bookcase still that I know I should part with, and I'm going to reassess that in the near future and go through all my books again and try and get rid of more. And then the last goal that I have is to revive my book club, and I did revive my book club. I'm super excited. It's a little small right now, but we've already had, I think, 3, maybe 4 more people join, and I'm super excited about it. But if you want to go join, it is an online book club. It's over on Fable. It's called the Rainy Day Readers Book Club. I'll put a little picture right here. I have a link in the description down below, again with a bunch of other links of where you can find me if you're interested. Oh my gosh, I need to show you guys Pumpkin. I can't believe I didn't bring her in for you. Everyone, Pumpkin says hello. If you've been watching my channel, you're gonna be like, oh my god, she's so big now, because it's been a minute since you've seen her. She just had to come in and say hello. Hi. All right, I'm done talking now. I will see you guys in the future.